Buenos dias, good morning, family and friends. And as always, my beloved veteran, it's Emilio Roman, coming at you live from the iconic Atlantic City, world famous boardwalk. And Umara, my co-host, how are you?
I am good, Amara Lodi. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, well, thank you for blessing us with your presence. And it is outstanding. I woke up today, opened up my eyes. So whatever bitching, griping, and moaning I had, that happens, it all comes together. It all comes together. And so it's interesting, before we came on, I asked Umara, what are you grateful for? Right? And so Umara went ahead and go ahead, just share it with us, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely. I told Emilio that I'm grateful for Daniela and Emilio to stepping into my life and healing me the way they did. You know, we all have some broken part of us. We're like a cup which is cracked and things just seeping out of it. And then someone in your life steps in and you don't even know that you had that kind of a crack and they fix it. And until and unless it gets fixed, you don't even realize that that crack was there. So I was that cup.
Amen. Amen. Wow, how beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And isn't that true? So this morning, you guys know I'm always transparent about my life, challenges, struggles. I mean, this is the whole reason we started the Facebook a couple of years ago. Like, not because, look at me. I have no desire for that. I've been there and done that. But because I find this therapeutic, right? I find sharing and being vulnerable uh, with an audience of like-minded people, because we need each other, right? The whole thing that, we're an island to ourselves, see the water back here? None of us are like our good friend, the actor in the movie. Remember that? He was stuck in an island. Remember that? He was going crazy, and his only friend was that little soccer ball. Remember the little FedEx movie? No, it wasn't Tom Cruise. It was Tom Hanks,
Tom
right?
Hanks. Yep.
Tom Hanks, the FedEx movie. So we need each other. And remember at the part of the movie where he lost the ball, where he was getting all set up, and he was like, it was, the word is personification. They call it in literature, personification, giving
Yeah.
human qualities to something unhuman, right? So he gave all this, life to this ball because his spirit, his mind needed this other interaction, because we are we are spiritual beings. We're connected to everything. You know, He was connected to that ball. He saw that ball as something. Like, he lost the ball, he lost a friend. You know,
Yeah. Attachment, right? Attachment.
attachment. Yeah,
He didn't realize that he was the one giving the power to the ball. He had the power in him. So well said.
yeah, yeah. But amen, right? And so, but it served the purpose, right? It's like a lucky rabbit's foot. It's something like, we put power in something, but obviously it's because we're all connected. We're all connected. So I love that. And so thank you for that gratitude. There's so much to be grateful for. And I had to be reminded of it this morning. I have a gentleman who's a co-author of ours, and he's the one that I've been leaning on for the last couple of weeks. He goes, Emilio, you got Austin's event today, right? I'm going to be introducing Austin. I'm going to be on Angel Marie's radio tonight, and on her show in Arizona, and I got all of this. Then I got Costa Rica, and you can see where my mind, being type A personality. And then here comes my friend in the morning. He helps me put it into perspective. He goes, you got to take a breather. You got to do this. And I won't share his name right now, but he's going to be coming on. He just celebrated 5 years of being clean and sober in his life. So congratulations to those out there who are challenged with substance abuse, alcoholism, whatever that attachment is, right? We're attached to something now. So, like I said, I need people in my life. Now, here's the truth. When you're in this space, we're going to introduce our guest who's on standby. But when we are going through something, right, and we have somebody who's helping us, and you'll know this, a trainer, relationship with a client, they love you in the beginning, but then the novelty wears off. Understand? Like I always tell my clients, expect you're excited now, but there's going to be a point where this is going to wear off, and you're going to be avoiding my calls because I'm going to ask you to do some hard stuff. Like I need you to do this. And so same thing with my relationship. In the beginning, I'm excited, and then when the calls start coming, is anybody out there with me? You're like, oh, do I answer this or do I just let it go to voicemail? Right? I think we've all been there, because I know Umara does that every time I call. She just lets it go into voicemail.
That's not true. I'm not that kind of person. I face my fears.
Listen, I just wanted
Not
to
the
change
kind
the
of
tone.
fears.
I wanted to change the tone, but hopefully the message was well received by everyone. And tell us about our guest who's in the green room from Canada.
I'm super excited to meet this human being today. I've heard a lot about him from you. He has incorporated humor, energy, passion, and full self expression to his personal and professional life. He's an award winning AMP and international best selling author of Canada. And congratulations, you are hired, right? It was easier than you thought. Hmm. And he's an award winning speaker and a Guinness World Record holder and so much more. He's he's in consulting services for Tata, which is one of like the biggest companies in this world, for IBM, Canon,
Mm-hmm.
Aviva, Skechers shoes, and much more. So I am like literally shaking with excitement. So
This is awesome. Now he's in your backyard. And have you never met? You never met Joseph?
no, I don't
Look at
meet
this.
you. I'm just privileged to know them by you, and you're just sharing all
Listen,
your things with me.
listen. This is amazing because I have most of the people that are on my show Canadians. I mean, this is just you got 2 or 3 every week. People are like, "What's going on over there?" Well, let me show you this book. This is where I first met Joseph. He and I are co-authors in this book, The Magnetic. No, that's another one. The Handbook to Entrepreneurship: How to Win in Any Market. Okay, so again, 21 leading experts. So this is a book that we're both in, and just when you meet him, he speaks multiple languages. He's really funny, and him and his beautiful wife, they had their first kid, and it was just you can see the excitement. So he's the dad, and he's just so much fun to be around with. Like when you're in the room, you know Joseph is in the room. Like that's the kind of guy. You're sitting at the table, you're gonna know he's at the table. Having said that, let's give a big welcome to our good friend from Canada. Let's see where you at, brother. Let's see if the reception is good.
Hola, mi amigo. Gracias. Thank you. Thank you very much. Omar, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm honored to be here. Excited to kind of share a little bit of wisdom. Yeah, Emilio and I did the Guinness World Record book together, and I've written kind of 2 versions of this book. One's called Canada, Congratulations, You're Hired, It Was Easier Than You Thought. One's called USA, Congratulations, You're Hired, It Is Easier Than You Thought. And I've kind of realized that my passion is to help people find their path, because not everybody is ready to be an entrepreneur. And even if you are ready to be an entrepreneur, sometimes you need to get a great job to be able to finance being an entrepreneur. So, you know, I've spent basically, as part of a quick history, I switched careers 9 times in my life because I didn't know what I want to do when I grow up. So I've switched jobs 18 times. Then after that, I got into recruiting. As Umar mentioned, I've worked with companies like Tata Consulting Services, Deloitte & Touche, Apotex Pharmaceuticals, IBM, several others. And in the process of kind of looking at developing myself and growing, I kind of went, why is nobody applying, let's say, Tony Robbins to job finding? You know, I don't need to get people to walk on fire when they're looking for a job, but I need them to take a little bit of action to just get going and moving in terms of going there. And so from the moment I met Emilio, like his energy just radiates and lights up a room. And I was like, you know, I enjoy being associated with you. I enjoy being around you. And I would love to share some of my nuggets of wisdom and 25,000 hours that I've invested into helping people find jobs with the general public.
Thank you. You know, Joseph, thank you so much, man. And again, I really wish you were closer, because I know we would be hanging out, man, because you bring, not only you're funny as hell, you like to dance a little. You dance too, right? I remember we talked, you and your wife.
I'm an avid salsa dancer. I've been dancing and performing for 14 years. I've competed for about 10 years. Yeah. So, and that's the one thing that right now is driving me crazy with all this Corona. Everything's shut down. I can't go dancing. It's like, that's
Yeah.
my yoga. That's my kind of revitalizing energy kind of thing.
Hey, you know what, Joseph? Thank you, brother. Hey, something, a question, pressing question that I wanted to ask you regarding what you're doing with recruiting. I was talking with my wife, and we were reading over your bio. I said, let's go over Joseph's stuff, and because she has never met you personally, and we were coming up to the situation of like, how, since you're helping people with recruiting and all that, is that something that you're actively doing, and like giving this pandemic, like, how is that working? Like how are you helping people in that regard?
So I've created a program called Land Your Dream Job. Nice and easy to kind of remember.
Yeah.
And what I've done is I've kind of told people the secrets that nobody else is telling you. So for example, the majority of people, when they're searching for a job, even during COVID, use Indeed. Now, here's the thing that you need to understand about Indeed. Before COVID, Indeed had about 40 million users. That means that one job posting was getting between 350 and 5,000 applicants. When COVID hit, according to news reports, 60 to 65 million people between Canada and the United States lost their job. That means that the competition on Indeed went or increased 5 times, right? So if you had 350 before, you're now at 1,500 for one job posting. And most companies look at the first 100 resumes, go, we'll probably find somebody in the first 100, right? Now, most job postings in North America, for example, also write at the bottom of the post, don't call us, we'll call you. And the majority of people go, okay, I'll wait. But here's where you can be a little bit creative. You call into HR and say, I've been having issues with my internet. Can you please check that my application went through? The moment you call and ask that, they actually pull your resume and put it at the top of the pile because they had to verify that the resume is there. Now you already have them on the phone. So when you have them on the phone, you can give them the 2 or 3, here's the 3 kind of accomplishments you should know that I've done in order for you to consider me for this job, because I will produce more money for you. For example, I will save you more money, I'll increase your efficiency. Wow. So now you've also given them those 2, 3 examples so that they're listening to you from, hey, wait a minute, maybe it's not just the resume, maybe we need to talk to this person. And since you have them on the phone, you can ask them questions like, when are you going to start interviewing for this job? And if they tell you in 2 weeks, go, okay, if I don't hear from you in 3 weeks, do you mind if I call you back to get your expertise and feedback on why my resume wasn't chosen? Now you've asked permission to speak to them again. So you've created that small step of taking action where you get noticed. Now, similarly, and this is where, again, nobody knows this, but if you, let's say, lost your job in May and you posted your resume on Indeed and you haven't touched it till today, you're probably on page 3,200. Nobody ever sees your resume, right? So most of the big databases like Indeed, Glassdoor, Career Builder, just to name a few, usually refresh their database daily between 11:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 2:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So before you go to bed, go into your resume, go anywhere on your resume, press space, and save it. The moment that you press save, you actually now a new resume. So you're more likely to be seen because you're not on page 3,200 anymore. You're actually on page 1 or 2, right? So I built a system to kind of tell people, look, I'm not going to tell you, yes, you should dress up for an interview because that's already given. I'm going to tell you why no one's hiring you. In the past 2.5 months, I've had 14 clients that hired me to help them find a job, of which 5 or 6 of them were kind of new immigrants to Canada with 0 Canadian experience. All of them got hired within 2 months in their field during COVID, right?
Wow.
So COVID is just, again, yes, companies have downsized, and a lot of, let's say, retailers have been the one that let go of people, but there's now a huge demand for, let's say, someone to be in a call center from home where you can answer the phone on your computer, for example. So it's just a matter of knowing the resources and knowing how to shift your energy. Like you talked a little bit about this in the introduction in terms of the gratitude, in terms of this. If you're doing what everyone else is doing and expecting different results, isn't that the definition of insanity? Right. So like,
you know what?
just
You're giving us so much mind-blowing stuff, brother. Listen, I want to talk about when we look at some comments. There is,
Yeah.
I read in that you just helped 4 out of 6 people. Your success rate, but I want to read some comments. But I want you, when you come back, tell me about that success rate.
Okay.
You got a high percentage. Go for it, Umar.
Yeah, thank you so much for all that amazing value.
That was
It
good
is
stuff.
interesting that they refresh their database, so that it's important to refresh your information. So Mandy joined. Welcome, Mandy. We have Evie today. So Castaway. I don't know who mentioned Castaway. So Evie says yes. That movie.
Yeah, Castaway is the movie. Castaway is the movie that Emilio was talking about, and it was a volleyball, not a soccer ball, called
what about
Wilson.
okay, I stand corrected.
Got that. And Evie's again acknowledging. Great tip to call and say, I'm interested in working properly. Can you check? And while you have their ear, you can ask questions. So great question and amazing value that you gave out. I haven't even touched your book, and I think if I apply right now, I'll be hired tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, thank you so much. And you know what, for reading those, and what I want to do is, in case people are coming, they're working, they're looking for jobs right now. So they're just passing through here. Give people your contact, because we want to make sure at least 2 or 3 times before we're over. What's the best way that they can reach you, Joseph?
So I have a Facebook group called Land Your Dream Job. And my program, if you look it up online, is called Land Your Dream Job. So it's nice and easy for everybody. And again, I've systemized it where for example, I explain to you why your resume is not getting a response. Because here's the reality. Most people that write resumes have been taught the same cookie cutter, silly information kind of thing. So here's facts about, here's what I call the 5 cardinal sins of a resume, right? And you'll appreciate this because, Emilio, you're so full of personality that kind of like when you commented about the fact that people know who I am in a room.
Right. You froze up just a little bit.
People remember you right away because you have that smile, you have that energy. Cardinal sin resume. Number 1, you use Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri as a font. Everybody uses that font, so you look exactly the same as everybody else. Number 2, you use black circles, squares, arrows, or dashes as your bullet points. Again, everyone does this, right? If you remember the movie Legally Blonde, right? When she applied to Harvard and she applied to the internship, Elwood sent a pink scented resume. And everybody at Harvard was like, what the hell? It's pink. But they remembered it.
Wow.
Right? I don't say that you have to have a pink resume, but you can take your favorite color and change your headings. And that breaks the eyes from the black and white. And now you look differently. Because reality is that most people most hiring managers spend between 8 and 30 seconds reading your resume. That means they're looking at the top third to the top half of your first page of your resume. They're not looking at the rest of it. And this is where most people waste time and energy. Sin number 3, as I call it, is that you have a section called kind of career highlights where you say, I've been working for 10 years. I'm hardworking, I'm dedicated, I'm committed, I'm a team player with excellent communication skills. I got to tell you, in 20 years of recruiting, I've met very few people that say, listen, I'm lazy, I'll show up late, none of my work will be any good, and I really, really hate people. Please hire me. The only time that you can get away with that is if you're related to somebody in the company or having an affair with them. Right? But you also have to understand that, let's say the word hardworking is extremely subjective. Because let's say if you work in public accounting, during tax season, it's mandatory to work 80 hours. So what's hardworking, 100? If you work as a nurse, for example, and you do a 4-hour overtime shift because the other nurse hasn't arrived yet, are you less hardworking than the accountant? No, because the nursing has a different stress level and a different responsibility than accounting. So you can't tell me that there's a one-size-fits-all for silly words or subjective words like hardworking, dedicated, committed, team player, excellent communication skills. All right. And trust me, I've met a lot of people that don't have excellent communication skills, but they've been hired for some reason or another. Right? mistake number 4, in my opinion, is that people write resumes that are chronological or functional. So if you've been affected by COVID and you took a part-time job in a retailer right now, and that's the first thing on your resume, when employers see your resume, they go, okay, you're working retailer, you're not really relevant to the industry that I'm hiring. So, because the first information is the information that they don't need. And this also affects your scoring on the databases because you put the wrong. So I write a semi-functional. And then the biggest mistake or the biggest sin that most people make on a resume is that they list their duties and responsibilities. Now, let me give you an example because most people laugh when I give this example. If you're applying to be a receptionist somewhere and you tell someone, I know how to answer the phone, a potential employer should look at you in shock and go, really? A receptionist that knows how to answer the phone? We did not know that. Because unless you live in an igloo, a cave, or Mennonite, chances are you know how to press the green button and go, hello, how can I help you? Now, if you went to school or you worked as a receptionist and you learned how, and you answered 60 calls a day with 12 different lines, I can measure 60 calls a day with 12 different lines. I cannot measure, I know how to answer the phone, right? So, right. Emilio, yourself, you've published several books. Mm-hmm. I can measure that you've made your books best-selling. I can measure that you've published the books, right? I can't measure, hey, I'm a publisher, but I've never published a book. Kind of thing, right? So there's a level of relatedness. If you're running like a coaching program and you can say, here's the people I've helped, here's where they've gone to as a result of my coaching, right? You have a track record, you have proof, because you asked me earlier, what's my track record? So I've personally had the honor and the pleasure of helping 11,000 people find employment. The fastest I've ever found people employment, and this is about 30 people, is 2 days. The majority of my clients have found employment in, like 90% of my clients have found employment in under 3 months, most of them in about a month and a half. And I've helped a lot of new immigrants that have zero Canadian or American experience. I've had people from, let's say, the John Howard Society, which is kind of an agency that helps people with criminal records to get back into the workforce and be hired in professional jobs. I've helped people with disabilities, and I've helped people in any industry kind of go, look, there is jobs. There's like, as much as the economy right now during COVID is shut down, companies are still operating. Companies still need expertise. You might not have the kind of frontline job in terms of retail because you got hit with that, but there's plenty of opportunities. Let's say Amazon's hiring like crazy right now because they can't keep up with the orders that they have. So if you were making, let's say, $10 an hour retail, and Amazon's going to pay you $14 an hour to work in a warehouse, it's not a retail job, but it's a job, and it's paying you more than what you were paying before. It's just a matter of focusing.
It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. There's a lot of information, and this is what I want to do for you. Umara, is there anyone out there that wants to ask him a question? Because I know, there's people out there. Wow, your knowledge of helping people find employment is very impressive. Tell us a little bit about the other side of Joseph, husband, father, and extracurricular activities. That's from Daniela. And what else do you got? Give him a couple of other ones.
Well, Mandy is saying, gosh, I wish I know you years ago. You don't know what you don't know, right? So, yeah, absolutely. So you can go ahead and answer Daniela's question because people are just going, their mind.
Yeah. So, I got married a year and a half ago. Great story with my marriage. So my mother and my wife's grandmother set us up. Right. And so my wife's name is Adi. My father was Adi. Her mom's Rachel. My mom's Rachel. Her grandfather is Joseph. I'm Joseph. Her grandfather is from the same neighborhood in Romania as my father. Right. We both love the color purple, both love Latin music. It was kind of kismet. And what's the most interesting part is that my dad was Adi. Her dad was Ami. When you take the two letters that are missing, it's D and M. D and M in Hebrew is blood in terms of connection. So our daughter, who's 6 months old, we named her Mia, one because we wanted to, both my father and Adi's father passed away about 8 years ago. So because her father was Ami, we took the letters in his name and rearranged it to make it Mia, to honor him. Beyond that, we love the Latin cultures. We both, like, my Spanish is a little bit choppy, hers is a little bit better, but Mia means mine in Spanish, right? And in Hebrew, Mia also means from God. And then her middle name is Zohar, which means the light. So loosely translated, it's the light of God, right? I mentioned earlier that your wife was asking. I've been an avid salsa dancer and performer for 14 years. I'm an avid reader, as you can kind of see behind me. I have about 200 books on psychology, leadership, business. Just fascinated with kind of developing the mind and growing and manifesting things that you want in life. I've lived in 5 different countries. I've got to experience a few, like I went skydiving for my 29th birthday, and if it wasn't such an expensive hobby, I'd probably do it on a very regular basis because there's just such an adrenaline rush to jump out of an airplane kind of thing.
How many languages, Joseph? Because I know you speak languages.
Four languages. So I speak English, French, Hebrew, and Spanish. I would say I understand perfectly, but the Spanish is choppy because I'm teaching myself at home, and so I'm not practicing it enough. And sometimes I need to kind of translate to the other languages to try and remember the words. So it takes a little bit of time.
Tú lo hablas bien.
Muchas gracias. Yo necesito de practico suficiente por que la idioma es natural.
Yeah, see, I heard you clearly. I understand it. Joseph, he's brilliant. Joseph, man, this is so cool because I know we've met several times. We met when we did the book launch, right? And I got to meet your wife. We sat at the table through a mutual Raymond Harley, and your wife was there. We sat with Brian Tracy's son, who's also a co-author. And Dr. Brian Tracy did the forward in the book, How to Win in Any Market. So that was a real special moment. Then we met, my God, at the OB Mastermind in Canada. So and then the Guinness Book of World Records, you were there.
Yeah.
Just amazing. So every time I'm in Canada, I really like to be able to connect with Joseph because he really is he's very knowledgeable, as you can hear. From just what he was communicating about the sins. And before we go into the finishing up the sins, you still got like 2 more or one?
Well, I mentioned the last one, which was just listing your duties. You want to kind of give me the results. You want to highlight how good you are. That was the 5th one. But again, I'd say the additional sin, bonus sin, I'll call it that, is, the fact that most people fill in their resume with the action words like manage, direct, liaise. But here's the thing, the job boards or the applicant tracking system measure the technical words associated with your job. So if you're an engineer, I need words like quantum physics, thermodynamics, circuit boards, parallel energy, whatever kind of, I need the technical terms of the job, not manage, direct, liaise, communicated, because the databases don't look for those words. We've been taught for some reason to populate a resume with that, and then people go, there's no jobs out there, nobody's responding to me. When I get that, when somebody says I've sent out hundreds or thousands of resumes, there's no jobs out there, I say your resume sucks and you don't know how to look for a job. Because if you knew the systems, you knew the tricks, and you knew the tools, you cannot fail. The only reason that you fail is because you have ego and you think you know everything, right? I had, for example, a customer actually from New Jersey that is a social media product manager, right? Basically, before we started, he sent me like 35 pages to learn what a social, of articles or whatever, of what a social media product manager is. And I'm like, I don't need to read this stuff. I know the science of how to get a job. So I wrote his resume, I wrote his cover letter, I gave him some interview tips. He didn't really want to listen to my interview tips. I wrote his resume and LinkedIn profile. Within 2.5 weeks, Google, Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat called him for an interview, right? Google asked him a question like, how would you improve one of the email servers? And he was like, I didn't know what to say. I was stumped by that question. So when he called me and gave me the feedback, I'm like, well, here's what I would have said. I would have said Hotmail was one of the best email servers back in the day. for some reason, they've changed their filters that when somebody sends you an email, it almost automatically goes to junk mail. Not only that, but they haven't upgraded the ability to attach larger files to their email server. So a lot of people have stopped using Hotmail as their primary email. So if I was a product manager, I would look at the settings of Hotmail to make it so that emails don't go to junk, and I would adjust the file size that they can attach so that kind of Hotmail could come back to life. And he looked at me and goes, wow, that's genius. I should have said that. I'm like, yes, that's why you pay me to coach you and train you on how to navigate correctly. So he didn't get Google. Then Facebook asked him to send some technical proof that he knows what he's doing. And he was busy and didn't send it to them for 2.5 weeks. And Facebook was like, are you serious? We're Facebook. You don't make us wait for 2.5 weeks. We're not hiring you. And so he burned his bridges with the 4 largest social media companies because his mindset was, I know everything. I know how to find it. Like, even though I've been self-employed for 10 years and I need to make a change or a shift in my career right now because the business is not going the way that I want, I wasn't questioning whether or not he knows this technical stuff, because obviously when I wrote his resume, the results he produced spoke for themselves. But part of it is understanding if you're going on interview after interview after interview and nobody's offering you a job, you're not making it to the final 3 candidates, you're not interviewing correctly. You're not impressing them. So you might think, well, we spoke about music for 20 minutes and it was a great conversation. Yeah, but if music has nothing to do with your job, don't spend 20 minutes talking about it. It has no relevance to it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So it's important to build that rapport, but not to have your entire interview about that rapport as opposed to highlighting the value that you have to offer, right? And the exposure that, you know, like Emilio, using yourself. Sorry, Omar, I don't know you well enough to kind of reference to you, but, you know, if Emilio, you're talking about people coming being authors in your next book, right? You have to tell them, here's what they will get as a result of being part of the Spiritual Fitness Academy or series of books, right? Where you can say, I'm going to make you a best-selling author. I'm going to give you an interview here. I'm going to expose you there. So now they kind of go, okay, this is what I'm getting. It's worth it for me, right? Like a lot of people, when they go to an interview, kind of go, yeah, I know how to do this, and I'm really hardworking, and I have excellent communication skills, and I love music. What does that have to do with anything in the job? Unless you're working in the music industry, like the fact that you love music has nothing to do with anything, kind of thing.
Yes. Wow. You know, Joseph, it's interesting because you answered the question before I even, you know, you answered before I even asked it, because I was going to ask you, you're in Canada, I'm in the US. Is there a slight difference with this process, or it works the same way across the borders? And you answered
it pretty much works in guaranteed in North America. It's worked in Europe as well, because I've coached clients in Europe as well, and some in Asia. There is slight differences depending on where in Asia or where in Europe, because let's say in Asia and Europe, they do a technical interview first, whereas in North America, they tend to do a behavioral interview to kind of see that you fit, right? And can I share a quick little story?
Go for it, brother. Go for it.
So my brother was finishing his 3rd year mechanical engineering, applied for an internship. By the time one of the companies responded to him, it was going to be more of a paper pusher job, and he already registered for his 4th year classes. So he asked me to cancel the interview. I decided to go in as my brother. I studied economics and business. The only thing I know about mechanical engineering is what I wrote for him on his resume, right? My first interview, there was 100 students from 4 major universities from Ontario. Within 45 minutes, human resource called me back, said, we love you. We need to come back for a second interview. I was like, all right, let's see how far I could take this. My second interview was with the manager of the department that I potentially work with. Now, I spoke the truth about my brother's resume. So my brother was on a team that designed a wheelchair for 3rd world nations that uses a tank chain so it can go on any terrain. He came 2nd in Ontario for the best mechanical engineering product of the year, won $500 from a major bank, told the manager I studied thermodynamics and quantum physics. To this day, I have no idea what those are. Didn't even leave the parking lot. Manager called me back, said, I adore you. I need to come back for a 3rd and final interview. Out of 100 candidates, I made it to the final 3. I was the first one in at 8:30 in the morning. Manager walked over to me and goes, here's your offer letter. The job's yours. All you have to do is pass this mechanical engineering test. I look at him, I look at the test, I look at him, I look at him. I'm like, I can't do this test. Manager looks at me and goes, I know you're nervous. Let me help you. He solved the first 2.5 questions for me. Right. I looked at him. I'm like, listen, I am so sorry for wasting your time. I guess I'm a lot more comfortable with the design than I am with the calculations. I'm not the right candidate for this job. Thank you for the opportunity. Manager followed me to the car and begged me to take the job because I'd interviewed that much better than every other mechanical engineer. Right. Now, this is where in North America, because the first or second interview goes through HR and kind of before you get to like the final decision, a middle person or whatever, perhaps a team member or whatever, they're not necessarily asking you a very, very technical interview. Now, if you are, my system still works with the technical interview because the way that I've designed my system, especially for interviewing, it doesn't matter if you do it left to right, right to left, middle, right, left, middle, left, right. It will always work because there's a formula, and the formula highlights this is how great I am. These are the results I produce. This is how I can produce these results better for your company. And here's why you need to hire me, kind of thing. And it doesn't matter which order you do that as an answer or conversation. And so the mechanical engineering story that I shared with you with my brother, just to make sure that my system is foolproof and I do guarantee results with it, I've interviewed to be an accountant, which I'm not, interviewed to be a lawyer, which I'm not, interviewed to be an IT guy, which I'm not, interviewed an environmentalist, which I'm not. And I basically test this in every industry to make sure that as long as I learn the lingo and nobody asks me something extremely technical, I can get the job. Kind of thing.
Man, that is a great story. Now, I was going to, because now you got me curious before we go into a question here. So it was a mock, meaning like your brother didn't really apply for it? Your brother?
No, he applied through school, but he used the house number as contact number, for example. Right? So when he asked me to cancel the interview, I was like, I'm at home. I'm going to go. Kind of thing. And when I got there in the first interview, I gave them my cell phone if they wanted to follow up with me faster, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. You know what? Thank you for clarifying that. I thought that it was your brother's interview and you went in and you screwed it up for him because you got
it was my brother's interview, but they've never met my brother because all he did is send a resume, right? Yeah. So I just presented myself as my brother.
Yeah. So no, I get it now, but just the way I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, so you got the job. Now what's going to happen to your brother? But, oh, man, so the point of this was you really have a system here to stand out, right? Especially you gave great hints about the fonts, about, all
this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is the thing that, there's LinkedIn that you need to look at. There's other social media and how you're coming on it. There is, how to network correctly. Most people that go to networking, like, give me a card, give me your business card, give me your business card. But they don't think about the importance of the connection, the relationship, the time spent, because you know how many people like hear me talk, let's say to you at a networking, like, "Ooh, you sound important. Give me your card." Okay, here's my card, and then they send me an email like, "I saw you at the networking event. Can you give me a job?" No, I don't know who you are. I haven't built a relationship with you. But there's a lot of mistakes that most people make in a networking event because they just go to networking and go, okay, my purpose is to get cards. Why? Your purpose is to have connected conversations, because even if I speak to you, Emilio, and I ask you something and you're like, you know what, this is not really my realm. You might know Omara, but you were impressed with the way that I spoke to you, that you'll make the introduction to Omara, and then I can kind of get the purpose I want. So networking is not just going there and people seeing you. It's about coming in with the purpose of conversation. Even the conversation you have, even the way you wear it. Like, I don't know if you're noticing, I'm wearing purple, right? My favorite color is purple. My business card is purple. My landing pages are purple. Everything's purple. It's part of my branding, because if I meet you, let's say Omar, at a networking event, and there's hundreds of people, and I send you an email saying, hi, I'm the guy with the purple shirt. You don't need to remember my name, but you'll have an emotional connection to purple because I'm probably the only one at the networking event wearing a purple. Right. And so it's part of the branding, like, Emilio, for you, your spiritual fitness, it's on everything that you do. It's on your Facebook lives, it's on your books, it's on your podcast. So there's a level where people, even if they don't remember your name exactly, they'll remember the brand. They'll remember the messaging of the brand. So that is so important in networking too. Like, for guys, it's wear a hat, wear a shirt, wear a funny tie or an original tie. Like when I used to wear ties, I used to wear like Mickey Mouse ties or Bugs Bunny ties. Why? Because they're conversation starters and they stand out from everybody else, right? You can wear, like if you have a brooch or a pin, like in your case, Emilio, being a veteran, if you have a brooch or pin that says that you're a veteran Marine, that's a conversation starter. There's an honor and prestige to that. For women, it's a lot easier to kind of have a signature brand because you can wear earrings, you can wear a brooch, you can wear a necklace, you can wear a scarf, you can wear shoes, you can, there's so many options for you to brand. But most people, when they go networking, don't think, you know what, I want to be remembered in this networking, so let me dress up a certain way so that people, even if they don't remember my name, they can at least remember something about the way I look, for example, right? And that's where part of what I teach is like, again, I don't want to regurgitate, yes, you know what, like when you go to an interview, don't smoke, like, or don't kind of wear too much jewelry or too much perfume because there's allergies and stuff like that. Like, yes, I cover that as kind of bonus materials. But when I go to kind of teach you about interviewing, I'm like, here's what you need to focus on. So, for example, a lot of interviews start with what I consider to be one of the most useless, loaded questions in interview. Tell me about yourself. Most people kind of go, oh, you know what? I have beautiful children. I love to travel. I love to read. Employers don't care about that. That has nothing to do with the job. If you're ever asked that wonderful, useless, loaded question, look them in the eyes or above the eyes, like around the eyebrows here, because for some cultures it's offensive to look into the eyes, right? But if you look up here, it's peripheral. It looks like you're giving the person the respect they deserve. Smile and say, where would you like me to begin? Whatever they tell you to begin, they've just told you this is important. This is what you're going to be on the job. Otherwise, we wouldn't care enough to ask you about it. Similarly, if you give an example in an interview and your interviewer says, can you expand on that example? Or can you give me a second similar example? They've just given you a huge hint. This is what we need to hear. This is what will get you hired. Because otherwise, they wouldn't ask you to expand. They wouldn't ask you to give a second example, right? And again, these are the things that, because I've spent 25,000 hours learning this, I want to gift this to people so that they're not wasting 6 months to a year finding a job, being stressed, being anxious, worrying about how they're going to pay their bills. I'm kind of going, look, if I can get you hired in a month, right? And my program right now, I'm doing kind of a Christmas special, is $97, right? It's normally $1,800. Like $97, start 2021 where you get hired but let's say by the end of January.
Yeah.
Right? What's that worth to you in terms of salary, in terms of family, in terms of peace of mind, in terms of dealing with stress, anxiety, and everything like that? I'm kind of saying, look, I've given you everything. So even if you don't know where to begin to look, like let's say you don't know employment agencies, I've given you the top 300 in the US. Right? You don't know job sites other than Indeed. I've given you the top 300 in the US. I've given you the top 250 in Canada, kind of thing. So you don't have an excuse to say, well, I didn't know where to look, right?
Yeah.
Okay, networking. You understand the importance of networking, but you don't know where to network. I've given you a list of going, here's the kind of categories where you can network. And depending on where you live and what you do, you should kind of go to these kind of things, right? Yeah. And also explain to you how to search for networking events that are related to your field, right? Because if, let's say, you're an environmentalist, going to, let's say, programmers networking event, probably not the kind of the right area for you to be in. Yeah. But, simple things like Eventbrite, Meetup, type in environment and find events with the word environment in them. And then make sure that it's actually environmental, not we're talking about environment, like, what's the environment in New Jersey right now kind of thing. Like, take 2 minutes to read, and all of a sudden, you're using resources that you didn't use. You're not just sending resumes online. You kind of have multiple resources working for you. And because of that, you cannot fail, because all of a sudden you're being noticed by the right people. You're having the right conversations, and life's beautiful, kind of thing.
Joseph, I mean, like, this is, I got two questions, but I know that Omara, there's got to be something coming in. But before I forget, on the back side of this, Joseph, before we check, I want to know, is that $97? Don't answer now. Wait for her. $97, is that US or Canadian?
US.
Okay, so just, okay. And go ahead, Umar.
97 US, there's no upsell. So this is not one of those pay $97 and pay me $5,000 and pay me. It's $97, no extras, just $97.
Okay, all right. Thank you, brother. And
yes, well, thank you so much, Joseph. You are an amazing human being. You've given us so much value.
Thank you.
And we have so many more questions along with my 3 burning questions as well. So.
I love the questions.
So before we forget, let's take a shot now, because I'm gonna forget. Joseph, give me a silly face, or give me let's all take a shot. We're gonna screenshot this.
All right.
Ready? Did you take that, Amara? Let's do this again.
Let's do it one more time. Okay.
Right, let's do it. Ready?
I'm gonna make a video. You gotta make that sound again.
Okay, so Danielle, let's do a screenshot. Ready? 1, 2, hang on. I love it, Joseph, man. I love your sense of humor. Your knowledge is literally mind-blowing. You have given me, my God, if I wasn't self-employed, my God, I'm ready to do resumes and ready to put on a picture.
Emilio, and think about it this way. You're a veteran. I know that you're very involved with helping veterans kind of leave the military and get into the private sector. Think about how much veterans need this information, because they're struggling probably as much, or if not more than others, because they haven't been in the corporate world. They've been military, and all of a sudden, once military is done, they're kind of like, I don't know what skills I have. I don't know how to present that I'm good at this. And again, it's not that this is, advanced, physics. This is very simple. We'll call it common sense that most people have never learned or understood. This is what makes a difference.
I love it. You are so right. And I'm going to connect you with a lady I just met yesterday. She has a resource for veterans. She just got back from Iraq. And so she was doing some work there. And anyway, she started a nonprofit. But anyway, I'm going to connect you two, because I'm sure there's a mutual beneficial relationship there. Umara, you've got 3 questions, and we've got about 10 more minutes. So I'm loving this. So go ahead and fire away, because Joseph is ready.
Thank you. So Evie asked a few questions. I've asked her to post them again, because I was taking the screenshot and the questions disappeared. So, but I remember one of her question was, what is the best way for the resume to stand out? And is it okay to use colors in the resume? I know you touched on that point, but can you explain that quickly?
So yes, so you can do lots of things to help the resume stand out. You can use colors, you can use different fonts, you can use different bullets. So like, you can go on Google, find an image like, let's have a smiley face, and instead of having a black dot, shrink the smiley face and make that your bullet points, for example, especially if you're applying for a more creative position. By no means am I a graphic designer, nor do I claim to be, but if you go to Microsoft Word, for example, and go to insert text box, there's different layouts, there's different templates. Use that, because you have to understand, a black and white resume, like, again, if I'm spending 8 to 30 seconds, I'm kind of going like this in a quick scan, right? But if you've done something like a little bit of color, a different font, you could have a quote from one of your employers of something that you've done. You can, have a box with your address in the corner. It breaks the eyes. It breaks the kind of the monotony of everybody looking the same, right? And so it's very important to have a little person. Now, if you're applying for a government job, don't have any personality. keep it to the cookie cutter resume. Kind of thing,
I got you.
Right. Right, but like, again, depending on the industry, like, for example, if you're applying in marketing, you're not allowed to have a black and white resume, because you need to show that you're creative. One of my favorite resumes of all time, the guy had interesting observation and additional interesting observation about every job that he's ever had. So, for example, he was a restaurant manager in a place called Casa Loma, which is pretty much Canada's only castle. And under interesting observation there, he wrote, once had a regular patron come in and ask me if we stock albino zucchini. Now, again, he was applying for a director of marketing. So when I read this, I was like peeing my pants laughing, right? He used to be a cab driver. He wrote, did you know a cab driver's diet consists of coffee, cigarettes, donuts, and chips? And then under additional interesting observation, he wrote, did I mention cab driver's diet is coffee, donuts, cigarettes, and chips? And again, it's not necessarily directly related to the job, but if I'm hiring a director of marketing and I'm reading this and I'm laughing reading the resume, you've already got my attention. I don't care what you've done in your career. I care about the fact that you were able to think outside the box, right? I helped one of my first salsa partners. She applied for an internship at Bell, which is one of the biggest telecom companies in Canada. And it was kind of an unpaid internship. She was studying graphic design. She called me. She's like, I really, really want this job. I'm like, you really, really want it? She's like, yeah, I'll do anything. I'm like, first of all, kind of, if you remember the Karate Kid, I'm Mr. Miyagi. I tell you to wax on, wax off. You don't ask any questions. You just do what I tell you. I said, the word graphic and design appear in your job title. You're not allowed to have a black and white resume. So we made her entire resume green. Now, instead of like the regular bullet points, she had a little dancing guy that she kind of used as her signature for all her digital work. We made that all her bullet points. She was working as a barista at Second Cup. I was like, that's graphic design because you're drawing the lattes kind of thing, right? She sent the resume. 2 weeks go by. She calls me. She goes, they didn't even call me. You suck. An hour later, they called her, right? The director said to her, I'm so sorry it's taken us so long to call. We received 7,400 applications for 20 unpaid internships. Your resume was one of our favorites. So because we received so many people, we're gonna do the first interview in 2 days. It's gonna be a 3-interview process because we need to make sure we're choosing the right people. So she called me back. She said, oh my God, they called. What'd I do? I'm like, first of all, apologize. Yeah. Right? Then I taught her my 7 rules to kind of land the perfect job. I had her go print all her portfolio on the highest quality glossy paper and bring it with her, and then organize all her digital work in an easy access where you don't need to log into 17 different things. It's right there in front of her. She went to her first interview 2 days later. 15 minutes into her first interview, the director put down his pen and was like, you know what? I've been running this program for 10 years. I have never been so impressed with the candidate as I'm with you. I'm not even bothering with the second and third interview. You're my first hire, right? And that was 2 days after she was called, right? So understand that, especially if you're dealing with like sales, marketing, things where there's an opportunity to be more playful, you can. Like I helped somebody with Apotex Pharmaceuticals. I basically made a backdrop where her entire resume was a molecule, right? Yeah. And they were like, molecule, Apotex Pharmaceutical, you're doing kind of generic drugs. We like it. Yeah. She got hired because she got noticed. Again, you can be creative with an image. You can there's so many ways that you can play with it, right? It's just a matter of what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, no, I know there's comments. Wow, so you really, you're giving us story after story. What is, very quickly, because I'm going to go into comments, what is your percentage rate that you have?
So it's a 90% success rate of getting anybody employed in any field, in any industry, in under 3 months. Most of them get hired in about a month and a half.
Can somebody write that down for me? Write that down for me. Thank you, Joseph. 1 second. It's mind-blowing because you've highlighted story after story. Okay, and so Danielle.
Yeah, the only reason there's not a 100% success rate is because, like I said, people go, I don't want to do this. This is too much work, or this is too, okay, don't do it. There's a reason I'm telling you to take advantage of these resources, because if you're only applying on Indeed, and let's say before COVID there was 40 million people applying, now there's 65 million people applying, kind of thing. You're not getting the responses. So if I tell you, here's go register with employment agencies, and here's the amount of agencies I want you to register, and you register with one, go, well, they wasted my time, I don't really want to do that. You're losing a huge resource that can open doors for you because agencies
Yes.
already have relationships with companies. So it's the same thing with you, Emilio. Like, you've written books, you have a proof of concept. Somebody that's a new author that doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't know how to get their book to market, doesn't know how to make it a bestseller.
Right.
There's an advantage to come to you because you bring that level of knowledge, expertise. I've
Amen.
made the mistakes. I can prevent you from making the mistakes too, kind of thing.
Amen. I appreciate that. We're gonna go comments, man. Go ahead, Umara, because I know that you got a lot of love coming. You got a lot of
Of
love
course,
coming your way.
we have a lot of love and we don't have much time, so I'm going to cut my question to one instead of three. But I want to honor this wonderful comment by Mandy. And she says that a certain job that I'm currently in, I actually burned the paper to make it look ancient before I added resume content, which reflected what the employer was looking for.
That is awesome, and that's very creative, and I acknowledge you for that, Mandy.
So just because we're on the very end of our call, instead of asking a lot of questions, and a lot of them you already answered to, I'm gonna ask a question to match your humor that you brought in today. So,
Absolutely.
so that is, if you were to select a song for your life to tell where you are at in the moment in your life, which song would that be?
You've put me on the spot because I'm very eclectic in my music. Like, I have a 160 gig iPod with every type of music, including cultural. So I have Arabic music, I have Hindi and Punjabi. Not that I necessarily understand the words, but I enjoy the beats. So
Yeah.
I will go with an old classic, Tom Cochrane, "Life is a Highway."
Wow. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna throw in one more question. I
Sure.
think you're a wonderful book lover and you have so much wealth of knowledge. What inspired you to write the books who was the author who inspired you to write the books that you wrote? And
I don't think that it was necessarily an author. Like, the reason I wrote, let's say, Canada, congratulations, you're hired, and then wrote the USA, congratulations, is because I was working for a company that owns private colleges, and I was so disgusted with how shitty their career services were
Yeah.
that I was like, you're charging $10,000 to $25,000 per course, but then no one's getting hired. Or like, somebody, let's say, studied business, they're getting hired at McDonald's. The college is getting a letter saying, look, we got them a job because their college helped them got hired at McDonald's. And I went, no, that's not right, because they could have gotten hired at McDonald's without your college education and spent that amount of money. And I was kind of very frustrated because I'll kind of speak here. When my father first came to Canada, my father built all the highways in Ivory Coast. My father did $1 billion project in 1980 before people understood what $1 billion was. When he came to Canada, he was fluent in 10 languages. He applied to be a kind of civil engineer, couldn't get a job for 9.5 months. He finally went to a small construction company and said, I will work here for free for 2.5 months. If during the 2.5 months my work is not as good as any Canadian project manager, you don't pay me and you fire me. But if at the end of 2.5 months my work is as good as a Canadian project manager, you pay me for the 2.5 months I work and you hire me full time. Within 3 weeks, I made him a senior project manager for the entire company. And so, because I've experienced this with my family, because I've experienced this with people that are close to me, I kind of went, I'm tired of this bullshit where people are coming to Canada for a better life and being told, it's great that you were a doctor, but we don't recognize anything you've done and we won't hire you. And so my purpose was to help people get over the frustration. You know, because I've switched careers 9 times, I've gone through that where you're searching for a job and you're like, I'm perfect for this job. Why is nobody talking to me? And I'm so tired of this kind of cookie cutter, oh yeah, you should do networking, it's a good idea, it'll help you get a job, bullshit that no one's getting you, that's not helping you really get anywhere, because no one's giving you the insider information on what to do and how to do it. And so I want to be kind of, you know, a disturber by kind of going, I want to change the system.
Yeah.
Right. So let's suppose if they're immigrants and they're coming with no experience, can a resume help those people who don't have an experience but all the knowledge and education?
A lot of the people that have helped the 11,000 are new immigrants with 0 Canadian experience, and they've all been hired in their field.
Wow. No.
This is a man. I'm telling you, you. I mean, I knew you. We've met and everything, but I mean, you just brought a whole nother level to our friendship, because now I know I've got people here that I can definitely send your way, especially during these times. So what I want to do is I want to make sure, because we're literally at the top of the hour, the best way for people to get a hold of you? So we got about another 40 seconds. Best way for people to get a hold of you.
Again, land your dream job is kind of my Facebook group. It's my program for $97 US. My company is called the Celebrate Group. My name is Joseph Stetter. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. It ain't that hard. And Emilio, if they know you, or Mar, if they know you, they can always connect through the degrees of separation and say, hey, I saw the show, and I'm happy to kind of guide them and help them, because again, at $97 instead of $1,800, like, I'm basically saying you're going to get hired in a month and a half. I guarantee results as long as you do the homework. I can't do more than that. I can't actually go to the interview for you, right? So
which you've done.
Yes, which I've done. Yeah.
Listen, brother, I love you. You are a gentleman and a scholar, and you have helped many people. And it is your mission. I can tell. I can tell in your story, especially when you share your dad's story. This is something that you didn't just come up with this and you thought it was a good idea. This really resonates at your core of who you are. You are on the mission to help people gain employment and to make that transition from wherever they're at to so they can.
Or even if they're employed, but they can get a better employer. Sadly, 80 to 90% of people in North America hate their job. And the number one reason they hate their job is because they're being treated like shit. Not because it's salary or anything. Salary is actually number 7 in terms of the reasons. It's because they're treated like shit. They're not being respected. They're not being appreciated. They're not getting opportunities to grow. They're not being challenged, whatever it is. And so I genuinely want to kind of give people the hope and the tools and the systems to go, no matter what's happening in the world, if you take action and you're different than everybody else, you will get noticed and you will get hired.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother. Everyone say bye. Joseph, thank you so much, brother. Con mucho corazón. Gracias por tu tiempo.
Muchas gracias a tú. Yo soy, okay, now I forget the word. So honored and flattered that you've given me the opportunity to share. I would love to kind of share again if you ever need. I'll share different stories and kind of different things, but thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Hey, gracias, hermano. We'll talk on the other side. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless.
All right. We have wow, Umara, we're over our time here, and but what do you think about Joseph?
Oh my! He's offering his services for 97 US, but he gave out so much value. And I'm definitely gonna reach out to him myself as well. Why not?
Yeah.
Because everything is in COVID, and he also mentioned that you can also get jobs that you can do at home, or you can be unhappy with the job that you are currently doing. So as an entrepreneur, I believe in me putting my eggs in different baskets, not in one basket. So he's definitely a person that I will be recommending, and such a wealth of knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And so this is my wrapping around this whole perspective. Imagine if Joseph gave you so much for $97. Okay, if he gave you so much, can you imagine what the paid stuff is like? Does that make sense? So he gave you so much for free, because I know Danielle's taking notes. Imagine what $97 US. And by the way, I don't get a percentage of that. Umara's not getting paid for this. We just want to love on him because he really is on a mission. And if you watch this show, and if there's anyone in your family or any friends or coworkers that are struggling to get a job, I think it just makes sense to share this post with them. I don't know about you, but if you care about somebody, sharing is caring. Anybody agrees?
Absolutely.
So listen, we're going to end the show, but we have lots of guests on. We've been doing this for about a month now, and no one's really talked about employment. We talked more about self-development and spiritual, which is so important, staying grounded. But Joseph really brought it home today, because without the financial piece, without having a job, without having an income, it makes it challenging to kind of keep your spirits up, right? Because they say money isn't everything, but it ranks right up there with oxygen. Yeah. So, okay. So listen, Umara, last words.
Well, last words in COVID, a lot of people are at home and binge watching Netflix or overeating. I would rather say go get the job of your dream. And thank you again for bringing your friends on this platform and introducing them to the whole world so that they can get the benefit as well. Thank you
Hey,
for the.
thank you so much. And I've got so many more Canadians in your back door that I'm going to be bringing on. Isn't that crazy? They're right in your back door and they're my friends.
Exactly. Lucky us.
God bless you. All right, Amara. I'll leave you guys with
Hello,
this.
everyone. I'm Emilio Roman. I'm America's #1 spiritual fitness coach.
My name is Anilda Davila, and it's an honor for me to know Emilio Roman. I met Emilio through Austin James to be part of his co-author network project, Spiritual Fitness Survivor. And to me, it was like a divine connection.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ivy Perez, and I am a certified transformational life coach. Now, I believe in the power of vulnerability. And over the course of the past year, I've been sharing my journey, my story on social media. And Emilio Roman actually reached out to me because of doing that and asked me to share my story. And becoming a part of the co-author network and becoming part of this book, the Spiritual Fitness Survivor book, not only has given me a platform to share my story, it has given me the ability to voice my journey, voice my story so that I can empower others to do the same.
Emilio has done a lot for me. This is actually the second book that I'm in, and it has been an amazing experience, all because of him. So the first one was a great experience, but when he approached me about doing a book with him, that was a no-brainer. Not only is he great at the publishing and doing the book, the support and tips that he gives you along the way are amazing. Even if you're not looking to do a book deal, if you're looking to grow your business, if you're looking to grow yourself and just be a better person, Emilio is definitely the guy that you want to follow.
Hi, everybody. My name's Karen Drosnes, and I am a co-author in this magnificent book, Spiritual Fitness Survivor. I met Emilio Roman through a really good friend of mine, and immediately our energies connected. He is extraordinary at what he does, and trust me, you will never feel alone when you work with Emilio. I happen to agree with a good friend of mine, Bridget, who says, even if you would choose not to write in the book, Emilio is someone you must know. I had been planning for a long time to share my story with everyone and the world of overcoming traumas. And then the next thing I know, I just opened my hands up, and guess who jumped in them? Emilio Roman. Thank you so much, and please connect with Emilio. He is beyond amazing.